Howdy y'all, Stock Warden here, back with another video. Today we're going to be looking at AST Space Mobile Incorporated and how they have been able to clear a huge possible partnership along with a lot of new sector business that they've been acquiring, and also some input into their Q1 earnings report and also where they are heading for the future. So as we're looking at the stock right now, the stock ended up closing on Thursday at $91.61 a share. So they are still staying within the resistance trend as they have been for the past little over 2 months now. So originally we had set a resistance line here at right at your $80 mark, and then we ended up bringing a top resistance line right at the $102 range marker. So it was a decent little bit of a spread for AST Space Mobile's resistance line for them banking up and down, but actually they had a little bit of a launch where they have stated that a key resistance level is actually a little bit of a thinner margin than where I had initially put them, where they're saying that the top resistance level is at 97.50. So at 97.50, we're looking right in the market of about right here. We're going to run that across back again. And then for the bottom end, they're saying that the key support on the bottom is $84 a share. So then we'll bring this in right here as well, which it's actually kind of in the middle of everything, to be completely honest. So this is where they are showing their resistance lines for support and top resistance. So it's a little bit more narrow than what we had initially thought and put out. So it's showing that they've had a couple of breakthroughs and they've had a couple of full unsupported days as well. So they're kind of crossing the borders on these resistance lines. Honestly, I like the way mine look a little bit better, don't y'all? So, but to kind of get into the news aspect of everything, Meta is doing a collaboration with Technology Validation, bringing into AST Space Mobile. So they had Vinod, I'm going to butcher this name, excuse me, Samarawikrama had ended up sharing a LinkedIn post following the hands-on visit to AST Space Mobile. So he had described the company's model as fundamentally different. So with a small number of large, high-powered phased array satellites connecting directly to standard smartphones with no hardware modification required is an astounding feat to behold in and of itself. To be able to take a new technology and just input it into the already made technology and not having to swap over, to a different phone brand, a different system, a totally different operating system, where they're able to use everything that's already on hand and just make it better. So they have definitely been pushing the tailwinds of that into the stock, so that which has ended up increasing a huge amount of short interest. So just here in the last reporting period of the past couple of months, the short interest in AST Space Mobile went from 41.8 million to 45.8 million. So which I mean, that's representing over 20% of publicly available shares. So at the recent average daily trading volume of 13.4 million shares, it's technically going to take approximately 3 to 3.5 days for short sellers to be able to fully cover their positions, which technically in doing that is a time frame that could add just strict upward pressure on the stock if they had a squeeze that was to develop. But when they do that, that's kind of where you end up seeing these couple of days that are hard pressed going up with a great breakthrough, and then it ends up falling its way back down into your typical line of sight. And also a couple of different times, if we're going off of what their resistance trend line is for support, it's actually been more on the support end, underneath the support end, than actually within the lines or a breakout above resistance. So to kind of go into the key support resistance on watching all of these different things. So with the stock closing at 91.61, it is trading roughly 8% above its 20-day simple moving average. The stock's average over the last 20 sessions, which suggests your near-term trend support has turned upward once again. So that's also showing where the stock is still going to be pursuing further, where you do have a new upgrade. So now you have Riley B Securities raises the price target of AST Space Mobile to 105, even though they have downgraded from buy to neutral. So that's still an upside on where the stock is standing right now. I mean, if you go back into 105, then you're breaking resistance and you're going to more than likely stay above that resistance line to create a new higher support line to be able to combat and stay on top of that. So, but we'll also kind of, the stock is up over 375% over the past 12 months. So even after pulling back from their $129 52-week high, they're still far above the $18 low, which is what you've seen the market try to consistently say and price, which I believe is completely asinine to be able to believe that this stock should be at $18 a share, considering where this company's going, especially with the value, the growth, and the quality, because they have a bullish score of 97. So the stock is showing extremely strong strength versus a broader market. So, I mean, because they've been highlighting their strengths and also they've been pinpointing their weaknesses as well, which is something that most companies don't do. They don't say, hey, this is where our pinch point is, and we're going to try to make it better. So, just being upfront about those shortcomings and how they're going to fix them is something that you really can't just buy on a company or a stock, because they see how they can improve and they're going to continue doing that, as they have been since they launched their first satellite. Because once they did their first couple of satellites and then they moved into their Bluebird 6, they've been doing nothing but completely changing the game and upping the technology on every satellite that they send in, instead of saying, oh, this one's good enough, we'll just send a bunch of satellites in space, and when they become obsolete, I will just send more. So, but they're not doing that. They're completely built and based on increasing their technology base for every single launch. If they can make something better at the time before it gets launched, they're going to. So that's something to be able to show amazing growth and also extreme quality and precision on these satellites that AST Space Mobile is putting out. So hopefully it won't be too long and we'll actually get all of their full reports back on their Q1 earnings to be able to see kind of where they're at, because unfortunately over the course of 2025 they did miss all of their estimated goals for their finances. But you also have to think that they didn't have satellites in space ready to be outsourced to the public. But now that they've been putting these satellites up for a little bit now, it won't be much longer until they have enough satellites to be able to gain full coverage over the total globe on cell service. So, with all that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Hopefully y'all be able to stick around. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of the next videos that come out for all of the great stocks that we cover. If you have and or hold a specific stock that you need or want a little bit more information about and or a little bit deeper of a dive, don't hesitate to drop it in the comments below. I will gladly be able to jump on to another stock to bring out to the YouTube community. So, and I'm also in the process of boosting into a new set of rocket stocks as well. So, hopefully, we'll be able to combat a little bit more of these stocks that have been in a solid trend line where they've been staying between support and resistance, and actually see something that's actually got a little bit more movement. So with all that being said, thank y'all for watching the video, and this is the Stock Warden riding off. See y'all come back now, you hear?